Last week I did a video on the Leica Q3, which we're filming on now. And in that video, I talked about that I was filming at the time on a A7CR, which is this camera here. And I thought I'd go over this camera as well because it's similar in a way, but it's also very different. And this won't be a full review on this camera because this one's still a little bit new to me, but I'll tell you the journey and how I got here. And then I'll go over some of the accessories that I've bought in order to just make this camera work out better for me. Some of the accessories I got and the lenses and things like that. I do plan to do a more comprehensive review. I just don't have enough time under my belt with this particular camera yet, but I really do enjoy it. So the short version is it's a great camera, but there are some downsides, and we'll maybe highlight a couple of those. But that's what this video is about, is really how I bought this or why I bought this, maybe an alternative as well, depending on what you're doing with it. And then some of the stuff I've done to add to the user experience for this camera. I am not sponsored by anybody. My channel's not big enough to really be sponsored. And if that ever comes to be, I'll let you know specifically that this is a review on this particular product, or they sent me the product or whatever. In this case here, none of these products have been sent to me. I bought all of these with my own money, and I will leave Amazon affiliate links down below in case you want to help me out by buying through Amazon and using my link. I'll get 50 cents or something like that through it. If you saw my other video, you've heard this story before, but if you haven't and you're in that Sony lane, I'm a Leica Q3 owner. I took that to an air show and I didn't have great success with it, although the pictures turned out pretty good for what I did get. So I knew I needed something with a little bit more flexibility and a little bit more reach. I also owned at the time a Sony ZV-E1, and that was a great camera. And I did take some pictures with that camera as well, and I'll post some of those pictures as I'm talking. That camera was a great camera. It was a great video camera, had a ton of video features. So for this kind of stuff, it was awesome. For taking video, which I don't take a lot of video outside the house or outside of an environment like this. And for photos, the night photos on that camera were stunning. I think there was a base ISO or a native ISO of 12,000 or 12,800 or something like that. And the pictures were amazing at night. But the problem I had with it is that in daytime, it was only a 12 megapixel camera. And that may be enough for most people. And it actually took some really good pictures. I just felt that maybe wasn't just enough for still images, which I take more stills than I do video. So I traded that in, and I still go back and forth on whether or not that was a good idea or not. But I traded that in and then upgraded to the Sony A7CR. The A7CR is a 60 megapixel camera, very close to the Leica Q3 as far as size. It does weigh differently. And again, I'll do another video maybe comparing the two and my overall experience. But this had some features that the Q3 didn't have, specifically around changing lenses and just having a little bit more flexibility. Also, the burst photo rate, and it does video. So I can take videos of me talking about the Q3 and have a very good image coming out of this. And then when I want to take this out and shoot photos with it, the photos that are coming out of this thing are pretty amazing. I really like this camera. And again, could you make it a cheaper Q3? Absolutely. And you wouldn't be missing out on much. The build quality on this is a lot different. The screens are a lot different. The viewfinder is a lot different than the Q3. And when I say a lot different, probably worse would be a better word. The Q3 build quality is stunning. The image quality you get out of the viewfinder and the back AVF screen are insane. But this has a lot more functionality than the Q3 does. This thing has, I don't know how many hundreds of pages the menu systems are from a instruction manual standpoint, but there's so much you can do with this particular camera. This camera really is a weapon amongst all weapons, where the Q3 is more like a piece of art. It's very purpose-built, and you can tell it's hand-built, and there's meaning behind it, and it has a lot of charm around it, where the A7CR isn't a bad camera in any way, but it's more about function over form by all means. So this camera does a really good job for what it's built for. Let's talk about a few of the accessories that I bought for this thing. The first thing I did was change this bottom plate. Because I do mount this on a tripod, I needed something that was ARCA Swiss compatible. And then, as you know from other videos, I am a big proponent of having an AirTag on your equipment in some way, shape, or form. Not that's going to be the saving grace for your camera getting stolen, but it buys you a little bit more time as far as maybe trying to locate your camera. More so if you lost it or set it down or got lost in luggage than somebody actually stealing it. This bottom plate's from JJC and it has a AirTag in here. That's a nice little feature. So you have the AirTag in here. You can get to your battery. So there's a battery cut out here and it's got an ARCA Swiss lip on it as well. On the A7CR, Sony does give you an extended grip. It's super expensive, I think, if you were to try to buy it yourself, and it's just really clunky and chunky. I'll try to leave a picture of it if I can find it. It's in a box somewhere, but not my favorite thing. This here gives you a little bit more extension, so when you do wrap your hands around it, your pinkies have something to grab onto as well. The other thing is I'm a Peak Design person. If Peak Design's not your jam, I totally get that, but I am. And so I put anchors on here. For my setup, I have the Peak Design wrist strap and the Peak Design neck strap or shoulder strap or whatever this is. I think they call this the slide. And it's the medium one. I think they make a thick one and they make a real thin one. This is the smaller. We're right in the middle of the three. I really like this strap. I've gone over this in the Q3 accessories video. Also on this strap, which I went over in the Q3 accessory video as well, is this thing. This thing is a AirTag mount. So it screws into the strap. You need special screws to screw this in and out. And then you put an AirTag in this plastic piece here. And this isn't going anywhere whatsoever. As long as you have the strap in your bag, in your luggage, in your backpack, or attached to the camera, and let's say the boogeyman does take your camera, A, they're going to have to know that this is an AirTag, but then B, they're going to have to take the strap off, but they're not going to be able to take this off with any ease. So they're going to basically lose the strap. Maybe it's double coverage. In a lot of cases, I'm triple or quadruple coverage because I'll have an AirTag in this, I'll have an AirTag here. There's usually one buried in a bag somewhere as well. So I do have my stuff maybe overprotected with AirTags. And again, I don't want to have the argument on AirTags good or AirTags bad. I get it. But again, at least if you lost it, if you threw this in luggage somewhere, you'll be able to find it. If the boogeyman does take it, then that's a whole different story. And AirTags may or may not have their purpose there. Those are the two kind of Peak Design pieces that I have for this camera. The other thing I got, which is interesting, is this. And I thought that this was a battery charger, and it's not. It's a battery charging case. I have two of the Sony batteries in here. And the nice thing about this is there's a display on the front. And when you push the button, the display tells you what percentage of charge the batteries are at. You can then plug a USB into the side and charge both batteries at the same time, and it'll tell you what level they're at. But I thought this was like a battery powered charger, like you charge the case and then it charges the batteries. That's not what this does. I think they do make one though that is that. It's probably a little bit more expensive. I can't pronounce the name. I think it's Alano maybe, but again, I'll leave the links below. But I really like how this is built. It's kind of a rubbery feel to it, and it gives you the charging status. As far as batteries, the case company gives you a battery or you're buying a kit with the batteries in it. I also bought one of these. This is a battery from K&F Concepts. What I like about this battery here is, I don't know if you could see it, but there's a USB-C port on this battery. Instead of needing a charger like this, you could just plug a USB cable into this battery and charge the battery up that way. These are really inexpensive compared to the Sony batteries, and they work really well. I'm really happy with how this thing works. The Next thing that keeps things just kind of reasonably simple is these Peak Design pouches. These are camera cubes. They're made out of really nice material, just like all the Peak Design stuff is. And then it's just really an open bucket. There is a divider in here as well that you can place wherever you want. Depending on what lens you have on here, this is the smallest case, but the camera fits right inside here pretty well. And then what I like about these is that you could fit this into any backpack. So you don't need like a special camera bag. So this is an Air backpack. It's like a day pack kind of thing that folds flat, and I can pack this into luggage. And then you have a really lightweight backpack. But this thing here will just drop into here really easy. And now you have your camera protected in your backpack or in any other bag that you want to carry this in. So that to me is really convenient as well, as opposed to bringing, let's say, my 35-liter Peak Design everyday backpack. So these are cool. I will always carry my Q3 in one of these. And then again, depending on what lens I'm using, I'll pack my A7CR into one of these. This is the Sony 35 millimeter 1.4 G Master lens. This is an expensive lens. I would say this lens here is pretty equivalent to the sharpness that you would get off the Q3, although I still believe the Q3 is a better level of clarity. This gets you pretty close. And this is the lens that I typically will have on this camera, especially if I'm shooting low light. But you just get amazing picture quality out of the combination of this camera and this lens. I did buy this little lens hood. This is from Hogue, I think is how it's pronounced. And it just gives you that Leica look. There's no benefit to it. This G Master lens comes with a hood, but it's a kind of a big chunking thing. And I just like these kind of bayonet looking hoods. It reminds me of a Q3-esque type look, but this is cool too. And it's made out of all aluminum. So it's really good build quality. So that's the majority of what I have. Now I have another bigger bag for these packing cubes or these camera cubes as well from Peak Design. This is the medium size one. I didn't get the big one. This is the medium size. And again, camera fits in here, and you could stick another lens in there as well, and you'd be in good shape. And again, it fits in a backpack, and it is padded. That's a good thing. And I think I don't know if they're waterproof, but they do have a water sealed or weather sealed zipper on these. That's just something to protect your camera depending on how you carry it. You could theoretically carry these things as a little camera sling as well, because they do have loops on the side. You could put some of the Peak Design anchors on here, put your strap on, and then you have a little camera sling if you wanted to do that. The next accessory we'll get into, and I just did a video on this with the Leica, and I bought one for the Sony as well, is this is the Godox IT30S version. And it's important that you get the S version, S for Sony. It's got these little pin connectors on it, and there's an interface on the camera itself. And the camera and the flash will natively talk to each other, both for TTL and exposure, but you could also control the flash from the camera, which is pretty cool. This is a great little flash. It just slides in and plugs in at the same time. It fits nice and snug. And now you could see this is what the A7CR looks like with the Godox flash. Depending on what lens you have on the camera, you might run into a problem with shadowing, meaning that as the flash goes off, you could possibly get a shadow of your camera lens in the picture, depending on how far away you are. So Godox has come up with a riser, and it's called a TRS, and this is the S version. Again, the S version has those Sony plugs, and I don't know if you can see them on here, and if not, I'll try to take a picture and throw it up to the side here. But it's really important that you get the S version. This will just plug into the camera, and now it gives you some lift, and then the flash will plug into this here. And the nice thing about this extender is it has the ability to tilt. So you can have now the flash straight on, or you can just force it up and get a little bit of rise off of it. I also got this little diffuser as well. So it's funny because the S version of this flash does not come with this diffuser. You have to buy this. I think it's, I don't know, $5 or $6 or something like that. But the O version I got on the other video I did, the camera did come with this. So maybe they're shipping them now, but at the time I bought my IT30, they did not ship it with the diffuser. This has been fun to play with. I haven't really had any experience with flash photography, but I am fooling around with it, and it is pretty fun to use, especially with something so small and convenient that it's not this big honking flash. So that's really fun to use as well. Let's talk about bags for a minute. I talked about the Air backpack. In my other video, I talked about the Peak Design Sling, and that was in my Q3 accessories video. But I find myself more and more carrying this one because I'll carry multiple cameras. I might carry both the Sony and the Leica with me. And so this is the Peak Design Messenger bag. And you can see it's really well built. It's got dividers in it as well. And it's just a really nice messenger bag looking style, I guess. So this one here seems to fit in between when you don't want to carry a backpack and you don't maybe need something as big as a backpack. You can carry that messenger bag and it just fits most of your stuff pretty conveniently, and it's comfortable to wear. The neck strap around it is really comfortable. Okay, so let's talk about lenses real quick. So we talked about the 35mm lens, and this one I use probably the most, or at least I grab for it the most. The second one that I grab for the most is this one here. Now, this is the 24 to 105. So it is a zoom lens, and this is an f4 lens. And as a new photographer, you go off the specs and you're like, why can't they all just be 1.4? Oh, okay. I guess that's not a thing. But this lens, if you look at where these two lenses are, they're about the same size. But here you're getting a zoom all the way out to about 105 millimeters. So that to me is really cool. Plus, this has built-in stabilization as well. So when you are extended out, you're going to eliminate some of the movement on this lens. As far as f4 and night photography, I've had really good success with using this camera and that lens. Now, I can tell you, at least in my experience so far, that the A7CR is a lot more noisy than the Q3. But as long as you keep it relatively low ISO, so I would say below 6400, you should be okay. The camera likes to shoot at high ISO as it possibly can get. So you do have to put the limiter on there. But I would say that if you're around 3000 to 6000 ISO, you should be okay. Even with an f4 lens, you'll do fine. So I wouldn't shy away from this lens at all. And for daytime photography, this thing is absolutely stunning. And just to give you the reach, the other cool thing about this, and I'll maybe try to do the math and throw it up here, but you have APS-C mode, which will crop in the image and give you a little bit more zoom. And then you have I can't remember what they call it, some sort of dynamic zoom or some sort of digital zoom in the camera as well. It's another crop feature. And so you can get a lot of reach from any of these lenses. So you can turn this 105mm lens, I think, into something a little over 200. Same thing with this 35. If you switched all those features on, you can get, I think, up to a 75mm lens using this 35mm. Don't quote me on the numbers. I'll try to do some math and throw it on here. But yes, you're going to lose some resolution, but it's not bad. And it's kind of like the Q3 in its crop modes. You're doing, in essence, the same thing, but you are getting a lot more reach out of your lenses. So that's a really plus about this particular camera, as well as it does have that ability to give you a little bit more reach. So if you wanted to save money and buy the 24 to 105, but needed it to be something in the 200 range on occasion, you could do that no problem. So the next lens that I find myself using is this one here. And this is the 16 to 35G. And this is an f4 lens as well, so similar to the zoom lens. I would say that this is great for wide shots. What I really like about this one, though, is the weight is really lightweight, and the zoom on this is internal. So when you zoom, everything is built inside. So this is really great for gimbal work and those type of things. It also has a little power switch on this side here. So if you don't want to turn the ring and you want to get like a really smooth electronic zoom, you could use the switch here. And then on the ZVE1, it had a rocker on the camera where you could control the zoom using the camera. But this fits really nice on the A7CR. It keeps the footprint pretty low, and it just works really well. If you need something a little bit wider, this is a great option for doing that. And then you get to the 35 range. And then, like I said earlier, you could use the APS-C mode to give you a little bit more reach if you need that. You could probably get to something in the realm of around 50 millimeters, I would say, using those modes with this particular lens. Again, nighttime, no issues that I saw. And it's just a really nice lens to play with. Now, this other lens that I bought, and you've seen this all over YouTube, I'm sure, is this Viltrox 40 millimeter f2.5. And this intrigued me because could you, in theory, turn the A7CR into a Q3 43 or get close to it? Maybe. Spec-wise, you're right there. Image-wise, I don't know. Maybe I'll test that out. But I haven't had a lot of time yet with this lens. But what I do like about it is that it's super lightweight. It makes this camera really small. And it's just really fun to carry at this point, right? All these lenses are, especially like this 35 millimeter, for example, make the camera pretty nose heavy. And this does not. This makes it really nice. So you can go out and shoot all day with it. And the image quality out of it so far that I've seen is really good. But again, for portability, if you just want a one lens kind of solution, this is pretty good for kind of everyday use kind of lens. But again, I just don't have enough experience with it yet to tell you any more about it than what I am. I haven't really shot it at night yet, but the daytime shots that I got out of it are pretty good. Okay, so let's talk about my newest lens, which is crazy, but I did get this refurbished off Amazon and it came in really good condition. So I'm really happy with that. But this is the big boy, so to speak. This is a 85 millimeter 1.4 from Sigma. And so this is heavy. It's a really big lens, but it surprisingly takes really good pictures. Again, I've never shot with an 85 millimeter lens before. I haven't shot with most of these lenses before. Going from a fixed 28 millimeter to something where you can have variety and pick different lenses for different reasons, this is pretty interesting. But you could see how big this beast is. But it does take some really beautiful pictures, especially at night. So I was in Minnesota and was just walking around at night and taking pictures of all the people walking by and going to, there was some DJ at some club. And so I was just taking pictures of people on the street. And this surprisingly got some really good pictures for somebody who doesn't know what they're doing. So this is interesting to me. And I want to get some more time under my belt with this as well, because it just seems to be really fun to play with. Daytime, it's just a big zoom lens. And so everything is closer and you do have to think about where you're standing in relationship to what you want to shoot. But at nighttime, I think this is where this lens really shines, because just the amount of emotion it captures. I know that's weird to say, but similar to the Q3, for example, where you get that 3D pop or that kind of depth, get that with this as well. So I really like this lens. I just need some more time with it as well, just to get used to it. There's a class coming up, I think at the end of the month, I might take on shooting with an 85 millimeter. I'm going to do that, but I'm going to try to also go down to downtown Fremont Street or whatever and just start taking some pictures with this just to see how I do. But that in essence is what I've done lens wise. Now, when you put the hood on this, so this thing turns pretty beefy at that point. So it's not discreet at all, but outside of being just a giant tank, it's a really great lens to look at. And I know there's also new affordable lenses from, I think, Viltrox and C-Ray that came out with 85 millimeters that are way less expensive. I just happened to find this on Amazon in their refurbished section, and it was maybe within $50 from those other lower price lenses. So I figured, why not get this Sigma if I can get it on such a good deal. But anyway, that is what I've done. And then how do I take care of all this stuff? For whatever reason, on my last video, I've sold more of this stuff here called Whoosh on Amazon than any other thing that I've ever reviewed or linked to on Amazon. But I do use it. In fact, this one here is about half full. I got to get more. I keep a small bottle in my car. Allegedly, this is the stuff that Apple uses to clean all their electronic equipment. You could read about it, go online and read about it. But it's good for screens. It's good for all your devices, your iPads, iPhones, all that stuff. And it comes in you can buy it in a kit, and it just works really well. So I will spray this on a rag and wipe all my lenses off with it. It's good for the glass. It's good for fingerprints and all that stuff, and just keeping your stuff clean. And I find that it doesn't leave any residue whatsoever, no streaks, and it takes off all the oils from your fingerprints and all that stuff that you want it to take off. And it's not slick, it's not greasy, there's no alcohol in it. It'll be fine for your cameras. I clean the Q3 with it. I'll take a little brush and brush around the lenses and the camera itself and just clean it up. And they look brand new once you're done with it. But it's funny how this stuff here got a really good response. So I figured I'll mention it again for the Sony folks that are watching this, that this is just a really good cleaner, and I'm a clean freak. That's all. I know this is going to be a long video, so I apologize for that. I hope you enjoy watching these things. I have a little bit more time on my hands for a different reason, but if there's things that you'd like to see or like to see more of, I will be making a little bit more content. But if you have questions about any of the things that I talked about today regarding either this camera that I can make a video of, or if you just have questions about the things that we reviewed, please ask, because I do respond to all the messages that I get, to include the haters. There's only one or two of you, but 99% of you are all super positive. So I appreciate that, especially as growing the channel. I think we just reached about 540 subscribers. So I really appreciate that as well. But if you do have any questions, I do answer all my emails. And I appreciate you guys for watching. Thank you so much, and we'll talk soon. Take care.